Boom. So when you go through your military career, you start out at the most junior rank, whether you're enlisted or officer, and then you work your way up the chain of command if you stay in your job and you do your job to promote and move forward. For an officer, you're kind of field grade, junior up through what's called field grade or kind of tactical window of time is basically from ensign, that's the first rank of the United States military as an officer, up through about lieutenant commander. Somewhere right in there, you're going to still be prosecuting missions, going to do the job, doing all the cool stuff. When you make commander or O5, and then in the Army that'd be lieutenant colonel, and then colonel and captain in the Navy, and then up into generals and admirals, you bridge into the world of the executive job. This is a job I tip my hat to that everybody that stays long enough to do that. It unfortunately is where you get into what you feel like a more administrative role. There's great things to do. You're still around amazing folks. And I say this with no disrespect. You just also know you're sort of leaving behind the fun stuff. You're not going to be jumping out of planes, blowing things up, shooting at bad guys and running target sets. You're going to be running the team, running the high level briefs and mission sets and funding and all the things that need to do to make a military organization run. My first executive job, and turned out to be basically my last executive job, was as the executive officer of one of our train. I don't want to go into the specifics of the command, but a large SEAL command where we do a bunch of the training courses for the community. The XO, or the executive officer, that's the job I'm stepping into. There's three people that run a Navy command. The commanding officer, that's like your CEO. The executive officer, his right-hand man, who's going to really execute on the vision of the commanding officer. And then the command master chief, that's the senior enlisted. Those three make up what we call the triad, or kind of the top level pyramid of the team. They work in concert to run the entire team, of which at this command, there are some 800-900 people that were in their command, all under the charge of the three of us. Commanding officer sets the vision. That's hey, this is where we want to take the command. This is what I want to see achieved. The executive officer and the master chief then get together and be like, all right, how are we going to do this? And then work with the operations officer, all the other departments to make that happen. So it is an administrative job. The level of work at this job was otherworldly. I always had more things in my inbox than I could ever get to my outbox. But when you take over a job in the military, you will, unless it's a brand new job where they're establishing a new command and a new position, you're going to relieve somebody. You're going to take over that job from someone else. If timing affords, they like you to get, call it a week. I mean, they love you had 2 weeks. If you got a couple days, great, to spend time with the person that you're going to replace. So you kind of learn their playbook. You'll get all their, email contacts, a lot of the communication that was happening. They'll introduce you to the department heads, the people that run that command. You sit in a few meetings, you kind of get the tone, and then they leave, you get in the seat and you take over. I've never been big on big turnovers. If you told me I could almost do it with a quick handshake, tell me where the email is and where the bathroom is, get out of my seat, I want the job. Because in my mind, no matter how prepped you are, you think for the job, you're not, in so much that you need to actually sit in that seat, take some lumps, figure out the rhythms, and make it your own. I'm replacing a guy at this command that I did not know was a bona fide legend. And I need to explain to you how I define legend. Legend does not mean good or bad. It just means you have a reputation or a name that is legendary. Like I said, could be good, could be bad. The way I look at it, and a friend of mine shared this with me once, and I like the idea, is if you open the door into a room at a place where all the people knew the person you're going to say, and you said, hey, word association, I'm going to give you a name. You blurt out the first thing that you think when I give you that name, and I say, hey, Rourke Denver, you hope everybody's screaming out, oh, great dude, stud, smart, integrity, good folks, all that good stuff. You yell out that name, all of a sudden they're like, that guy's the worst. He's a piece of garbage. Absolutely somebody that we wish we'd cut out to see. Both of those are legends, just for different reasons. This guy was a legend for not good reasons. I did not know that because I hadn't met him before, hadn't worked with him before. But after meeting him, I kind of started getting the vibe around the command that he was not something that was well liked. We sat in one meeting and I watched him talk down to people in a way I couldn't believe. I'd never seen it before in our community, and it was blowing my mind. We finished 1 or 2 days of getting together, and they said, hey, on Friday, I'm basically going to introduce you to all the department heads, and then on Monday, I got to kind of make my way. And I'm like, look, the quicker you get out of here, the better. But That Friday, we finished morning meetings. We walked out to one of the departments. So let's say it's the air department that's in charge of free fall, parachuting, static line, all that stuff. There's a department lead, somebody that runs that block of training, either an officer or a senior enlisted. And I remember this officer I'm relieving, we walk up to this building. They had their own building with their shop, and the leader came out, and this executive officer introduces me at the new XO. And when I'm watching this guy look at the guy I'm relieving and look at me, I can tell he's like combining in his brain how much he can't stand this person and what's this guy going to be like. Probably the same thing. We were supposed to go to 7 other departments that day to meet him. And I said, I kind of made up an excuse. I was like, hey, why don't we go back to your office? I want to actually talk about a couple other items. Then I need to get going. We'll get you on your way. He's like, no, I want to introduce you. I was like, no, I'm good. I wanted nothing to do with anyone associating my face and his face standing in the same, like literally the same space. So I let him go on that Monday. I showed up that morning. I gave a speech on saying, hey, there is a new sheriff in town. I assure you, if you get disrespected by me, you will have earned it. And I probably still won't do that. You'll just know I'm holding you accountable to my standard of what I want you to do. And then I went out and introduced myself to each and every one of those people to make sure they knew there was a shift. It was time to move forward and get on to a better rhythm. If you are in a position where you got to take over a spot and the person you're relieving, it's going to be a gift for them to go, make that separation as quickly as you can. Establish your reputation, your style, and your rhythm. The team and the group will be better for it. Ever onward.